What's going on, my people? This is your host, Blanche Eden with Black Trending News. This is episode 10 in season 3. This is the second part to my Dwyane Wade series that I'm doing. Please check out the first one. Very good episode where his ex-wife gets into very great detail on the abuse and the cheating and their relationship and how they were very good friends. And then it all went downhill. So definitely tune into that previous episode there. That's number 9. I do want to talk about Dwyane Wade's interview that he did today about they're calling his son homosexual and they're calling him gay. And I've seen this in at least 2 articles and I heard them say it on the actual interview. This child is, I believe, 12 now, 11 or 12 years old. It bothers me a little bit that they're calling a child that's 11 or 12 gay. Transgender, I understand. I did an episode on transgender children and teenagers. Please go check it out because it's so enlightening. It opened my eyes to a lot of different other causes of these transgender symptoms that may be happening in children, which I want to get into, referring to his conversation about his son. He referred to his son as a she. I thought he would call the son a daughter. So there's obviously a bond there that still exists between a son and a father, because it's not, he addresses his son as a she, but he does not call her his daughter. So there's obviously still closeness there. That's a personal decision. Nobody can tell him what to, refer to his son as. But I do want to talk a little bit, just kind of piggybacking off the last video I did about his abusive allegations from his ex-wife, which her testimony I feel is authentic. It says that back in 2014, shortly after Dwyane Wade had popped the question to Gabrielle Union, he fathered a love child, and that news broke days after he proposed. There's also more disturbing claims, recently filed documents at that time that his ex-wife at that time accused him of cheating and beating her and infecting her with an STD. The STD part is very tragic to go through. My goodness, I can't imagine. But I guess they had, back in 2011, Dwyane Wade was granted full custody of their children. And after reading this story, I feel like, it's just my personal feelings, that he got full custody because he knows people and he has money and, probably some jurisdiction over, his wife, who is, kind of very much left out in the cold. Now, I have read a story. One source said that he had to move to Chicago after getting signed with the Chicago Bulls and signing a $47.5 million contract with that basketball team. And his wife, his ex-wife, moved to Georgia to be closer to them in Miami. So it says in the source that the judge didn't find it to make sense that they relocate, but instead just to stay full time with his dad. That just sounds like crap. This source says here at Radar Online, his wife has mentioned his arrogance and his pride increased. As again in the other episode, the domestic violence increased. He would hit her, lock her into rooms, not allow her to get away, threatened to take her sons away from her and frighten her by telling her he knows judges and that they are on his payroll and he can take the children from her at any time that he wanted. This was reported back in 2014. That is unbelievable. And in 2011, he was granted full custody. So these things that she's saying probably more than likely took place before 2011, just to kind of give you a timeline idea. But nonetheless, they still, according to her testimony, they occurred. And this is in court documents, so she has to testify before a judge. Not to say people don't lie in court, they do. But she had to swear on these allegations here. She said she tried to leave him. But when she did, he made sure that she did not have access to her own home, and he cut off all of her bank cards and denied her access to any money. Oh, God. And she says that it continues to this day at that time. And who knows if it still does now. He's thrown marble stone at her. I mean, these are just terrible, terrible things. The Ottoman story, again, in my previous, please go check it out, because I mean, it's a good story. It's good and it's not good. It's sad that it happened, but the way she tells it, it's a very, intense. If you like stuff like that. She's been hospitalized for a week, my goodness. And then they filed for divorce in 2008 after she found out that he gave her an STD. Just again, give you a little bit of background. I know a lot of times when celebrities come out of the woodworks with all this bright and shiny news, people tend to forget that people have a history of things. I didn't know about it, so I just wanted to share that. And now I'm going to get into the interview that he has, and I'm going to play a little bit of clip from that. Here we go.
Tell me what it was like to win custody of your kids, because that normally doesn't happen for athletes.
Never.
Yeah,
Ever.
that was a tough time for me because, when I decided to go for custody, I really didn't have a lot of examples. I didn't really have too many people I can reach out to and say, hey, bro, like, how was the process? You know what I'm saying? Or give me confidence that I even can, stand a chance. So I think for me, man, it was uncharted waters, but, it was all about just being in my kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that was the way I had to do it, because of how our relationship went. But once I got that opportunity to be there, more, I think it was beneficial for both of us. I needed them and they needed me.
So I found it interesting that his wife said those claims that he knows judges and they're on his payroll, but then he states in his interview that he doesn't have any examples, and in other words, like, he's kind of blindly going through this custody battle helplessly. And the interviewer says it's so unlikely that basketball players and sports stars win full custody of their children. And he said, wow, that's ironic. And he says, yeah. And he says the complete opposite of what the ex-wife says. I just want to put that out there. I don't make the news. I don't tell people what to think. I just put what is reported, because I just think that's crazy that he says the complete opposite of what she says in an interview and makes it seem as if, this full custody happened out of nowhere, which is very hard to get. For a man to get full custody of their children, this is hard to get, especially when the wife has these past abuse that has happened to her. She's been in the hospital. There's proof that this has happened to her. And then the children are able to go live with him full time. Who's to say that he won't do this to the children? Moving along, let's go ahead and keep seeing what he says here.
I don't think that's
And that's what's most important, man, is the love. We've seen in recently the social media stuff, and how supportive you are with your youngest son, and him feeling comfortable enough to come out, and you guys being so loving and supporting. And it gives me chills right now even talking about it, because the negative backlash you got, like, really bothered me. Like, I'm on social media arguing with people like, man, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Right. You know what I mean? Like, that unconditional love. But touch on what that is like, being a professional Hall of Fame player, playing in a masculine sport, and then your son being a homosexual and then being comfortable enough to have that kind of communication with you at such a young age, which I think is important.
Yeah, it's, first of all, you don't talk about strength and courage.
Incredible.
My 12-year-old has way more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You can learn something from your kids.
Right.
But in our household, man, that's all we talk about. We talk about making sure our kids be seen by each of us.
So, Dwyane Wade does not rebuttal when the interviewer says your son is homosexual. So I have to assume that his son is homosexual, because he doesn't say no, or he doesn't interject and say other words, So he's confirmed that his son is gay. At 11 or 12 years old, he's confirmed that. I get transgender because, maybe he's, going through some motions. He's like, I like this. I want to try that. But they're full-blown calling him homosexual and gay. And I think that at 11 and 12, it's so soon to determine homosexual is a sexuality. It's a sexuality. And yes, they're going to pride parades, and they're, he's wearing fingernails, which I'm going to get into. I just want to, let's just finish up what he has to say here.
Me and my wife, we talk about making sure our kids, understand that they're, the power in their voice. We want them to be whoever they feel that they can be in this world. Like, that's our our goal. You know, understand you can be whoever, you can be whatever. Now, it's some things that's gonna, while you trying to go down that process, this is what's gonna come at you.
Right.
It's gonna be a lot of
Prepare 'em,
negativity.
yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of hate. And it's not even just from my son's sexuality. It's just about being a young black man
And
or a young black woman.
First and foremost,
right?
Yeah.
So everything that comes with that. So for us, man, when I respond to things socially, I'm not responding because you hurt my feelings. I'm not responding because that I even care enough of what you're saying, because it's, as we say in the hood, it's ignorant.
You're a
Why I'm
dad.
responding is because I understand my platform.
Educate.
I understand that I'm speaking for a lot of people that don't have the same voice that I have,
Right.
As a father, or I'm even speaking for my 12-year-old right now, because I haven't allowed him to sit in front of a microphone yet. But I'm speaking for for so many others, in the LGBTQ plus community. So, for me, man, like I said, it's just my version of supporting. Like,
So he claims to say that he knows who he is at 11 or 12. Now, please raise your hand if you knew who you were at 11 or 12. Yeah. I don't think many of us knew, quote, who we were at 11 and 12. I don't think at 20 we knew who we were at 11 and 12. I don't think we even know at 25. We're just getting into who we are, right? That's a strong phrase, who we are. And he said his son is homosexual. So, meaning that his son is sexually attracted to the same sex. He's gay.
I had to look myself in the mirror when my son at the time was 3 years old, and me and my wife started having conversations about us noticing that he wasn't on the boy vibe as Zaire was on, and I had to look myself in the mirror and say, what if your son come home and tell you he's gay? What are you gonna do? How are you gonna be? How are you gonna act? It ain't about him. He knows who he is. It's about you. Who are you? You know what I'm saying? So all these people that's out there saying those things, look at yourself. Understand that you the one that got the issues. You the one that got the problems. It's not the kids.
When I saw the first picture of Dwyane Wade's son with fake acrylic nails and a crop top, I thought he was just, a transgender child. I've seen it before. It's not new to me. I've seen children that are, on the feminine side. They like to wear feminine clothing. But I'm thinking also to myself that this child is 11. I believe he's 11. I keep saying 11 or 12 because I'm not sure which one. Either one, it's still very young. But he's wearing fake nails. If I had a daughter, she would not be wearing fake acrylic nails at 11 or 12. She just wouldn't be engaging in that. I wouldn't take her to wear fake nails. Maybe some nail polish would be acceptable, but long nails, no. A crop top at 11 or 12, belly out, no. Midsection, who? You can't even define midsection at 11 or 12 if you're a young lady. You shouldn't even have one, or let alone exposing it on the internet to millions of people with long nails. These are just things that are for a more mature, maybe 16, 17, depending on the parental guidance, how they feel about, their strictness and their level of protection, or what they feel is appropriate at that age. But 11 or 12 to have a crop top on, belly out, and long fingernails, I don't know. I've also seen another photograph of his son, Dwyane, with a heel on, like a boot heel, which, again, nothing crazy out of the blue. Men like to wear a heel. I got it. Great. Okay. But he's probably 11 in that. I think this is an older photo. Maybe 11 or 12. I'm going to stick with that age. 11 or 12 years old. 10, 11 or 12. This is a child. What is it? 5th and 6th grade, wearing a boot heel. Again, if it was a young girl, would it be appropriate for her to wear a heel? Because that's how I'm looking at this young man, Dwyane, as if he's a young girl, because he's identifying as a transgender girl, a boy, okay? Or he's identifying as a girl based on what his attire and what he's wearing, and his father is now confirming that he's homosexual at 11 and 12. I think that is too soon. There are people who are teenagers, 20 years old, still experimenting sexually, don't know too clearly on what sexuality they are. They they, try it and then they figure, they're still sorting themselves out. I mean, they're grown men. I mean, I did an episode not too long ago on Tank saying that if a man sucks up, doesn't make him gay. And I'm just like, okay, well, sure. At your age, it does. Okay. But 11 or 12, I hope, it scares me when I hear parents calling their children homosexual, because that word sex is in that word, which means that, are they engaging in sex? Is some type of homosexual behavior going on? It's scary to hear that word even come out of a parent's mouth when a child is so young, because it's like a sexual activity, sexual sex. It's in there. Homo meaning same thing. Right? I'm attracted to the same thing. That frightens me a little bit, that he says it out of his mouth. He doesn't rebuttal with the reporter. How at 11 or 12? It's okay to feel you feel a way, you feel butterflies, you feel attracted at 11 or 12. You might feel excited, you get a rush, you blush when you meet a child that you like, or another peer your age. You get that feeling. You might kiss them, a kiss at 11 or 12. Maybe that's happening. Maybe, like some parents say that their kid did that. I don't know. My son doesn't do that, but maybe, some kids are doing that at 12, 13. They're kissing, they're adventuring into that. But sexual talk, when I'm talking about an 11, 12-year-old, I am not here for it. Maybe, I understand where Dwyane Wade is coming from to an extent, with being open-minded about his son expressing himself differently and accepting him the way he is. Okay, I understand all that. I understand that. But to call him out as a homosexual, I think is too soon. And it's let the child say that himself, or herself, excuse me. Let them say that, because maybe he has said it in private, but now Dwyane Wade is saying it in public. This is too much to expose about a child, in my opinion. Their sexuality, 11 to 12. I don't think the world needs to know your child's sexuality at 11 to 12. I just don't. I think it's too much information. I think it's too much information when people just start going around talking about their sexuality. Oh, I'm gay, I'm this. It's just out of nowhere, randomly, nobody asked them. In this particular situation, the reporter is asking him. Dwyane Wade credits his wife, Gabrielle Union, for opening his eyes to being accepting towards the child. This is not Gabrielle's child. It's her stepchild. It's not her birth child. I wonder how. So I haven't found anything where Zion's biological mother is speaking on this. Maybe she can't. Do I think it was right? I mean, he mentions that Gabrielle Union said that Zion was showing signs of, quote, homosexuality at the age of 3. What child is showing homosexuality at the age of 3? I find this nearly to be impossible, that a child is signifying he's sexually attracted to another boy. I find that to be, significantly impossible. Is the child showing feminine mannerisms? This is possible. It's not anything out of the ordinary for a male to be feminine and showing feminine tendencies at 3, 4, 5. They're growing into themselves. If you're a parent, people feel like you should let the child be free. Don't try to, confine them into what you want them to be. Take off the gender labels. I get it. But apparently nobody did anything. Nobody said anything, and again, I did another episode on this, please go check it out. I'll put the link in the bio. How there's a black mother, and her daughter says that she's not a girl and that he's a boy, and claims his boyhood, even though she is born a girl. And the mom says things like, I dropped the ball. I didn't, what did I not do? I find that sometimes parents are laxed about this, and with society encouraging parents to accept your children the way they are, speaking to them about their mannerisms is not necessarily, in my opinion, not accepting them the way they are. It's just having the conversation about it and observing them and having conversation about it, not taunting them and telling them they're sissies and not abusing and demeaning them as children. This is not right to do that, but having the conversation, observing them, maybe taking them out on a boat trip, doing some male things. I'm thinking the more I hear this, maybe Dwyane wasn't around as much when the child was 3, 4, and 5. Maybe he was around a lot of women and picked up some female tendencies. Perhaps this is what happened. Who knows, right? But a lot of times, that's what happens. I mean, children pick it up from somewhere. Like the child in the video that I did. She had all brothers. Could it be that she just said, I want to be a boy because I like the attention that they get. I like what they do. I made a decision in my mind as a 10-year-old that I'm going to be a boy for the rest of my life. So, I wish them the best. I definitely don't agree with a child at 11 or 12 being called any word with the word sex in it. Homosexual, bisexual. I don't think that's okay because they're so young and impressionable. Give them time to make that on their own when they've reached to just claim the home without it coming out of his own mouth and you speaking it for him. He even says in the interview that I'm not going to speak for my son. I haven't let him get in front of a mic yet, but you're speaking for him. You're claiming his sexuality. I think that's wrong, and I think a child is too innocent for anybody to be using to have words describing them with any other word sex in it. It just seems a little and I don't think that Dwyane is being perverted. I don't get that energy that he's being a pervert in no way, but some people may be like, that's perverted, period. Not he's being perverted, but that is perversion. Describing a young child as being homosexual, that is sexual attraction to the same sex. That's what that word means.
It's not the ones who decide that you decide that they born a certain way and you say they got to be that way. That's not life, man. I watched my son from day one becoming to who she now eventually is coming to. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's all about nothing changes with my love.
Right.
Nothing changes with my responsibilities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So only thing I got to do now is get smarter and educate myself more.
True.
I mean, and that's my job. You know what I'm saying?
I went through it, growing up. My old.
Like this video, subscribe, share it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Sorry I even had to make this. It's unfortunate. This is 2019. We're going into a new year. Expect these type of things to increase. Stay strong with your children. Watch your children. Observe them. Talk to them. Have these conversations. It's okay. It's okay to talk to your children. There's nothing to be afraid of. They don't bite. Some of them do. Have a good night, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.